Hey, hey, welcome to another great episode on deck of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Glad to be back with another episode. This is episode 2 of the day. So, looking forward to my next guest. But before that, let's get it. All right, welcome to another great episode of The Real Deal. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Like I said, I'm glad to be back. This is episode 2 of the day. I have a great guest waiting in the wings, so I'm not going to keep her much longer. But before that, you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, BS3 Network, BS3TVLive.com is the website. You can, we're also on Roku, BS3 Network on the Roku channel. You can download the app as well there. You can follow me on all social media platforms, whether it's Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and TikTok as well. So let me bring in my guest. She got some breaking news too. I was just talking about this, but she's a D1 volleyball player, also Cornell and Syracuse a volleyball alum. Shout out to upstate New York. That's where I'm from. We're gonna get into that. SP Award winner, Glamour Magazine College Woman of the Year. I mean, this woman, this incredible woman, has such a great resume as well, and also she has a podcast. Let's talk about it. It's a show. It's transparent conversations student athletes deserve. They talk a little bit about a little everything, NIL. Just what athletes go through, what they go to, mental health, things like that. Just real conversations. So, welcome to the show, Sydney Moore, to the show. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I love that intro music. I was kind
Oh,
of
thank
jamming
you.
back here. Yeah.
Yes, I try. Yes, I did. Yes, I love the music as well. I love that the guests could jam too, and just do those things. Try to make it light and everything too. But I
Yeah.
appreciate that and appreciate your time coming on the show. And thank you again for accepting the invite.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Always happy to meet new people and chat. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And you got an impressive resume too, and you had some breaking news. We'll start with that. Let's start before I get into the nitty gritty and, like I said, casual conversation as well. Talk about a little bit of your breaking news that you just told me before we start recording.
Yeah, I just signed my first professional volleyball contract. It's been a long time coming, and a lot of ups and downs in my career, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit. But yeah, I just signed my first contract maybe about an hour ago, and sent that over to my agent. So really exciting, and yeah, you're the first person to really hear about it publicly. So super
Wow.
excited about that.
Well, thank you for that, and congratulations. As I
Thank
said
you.
before we started recording, I said, "Oh, we got to definitely announce this if we can." But you said, "Yeah, let's do it." And congrats on turning pro. Like you said, I'm sure there was a lot of things in the background that people don't really know. What you had to go through, and all these things, ups and downs. You said we'll get into that just in your journey as well. But congratulations! I should have had some breaking news music or something, or a break, or breaking news of those news breaks on there. So, but no, that's no congratulations. That's very well deserved, and just I followed you for a little bit in your journey, and just for the research, and of course I said I got to reach out to you and see if we can get you on the show. So thank you for your time. Really do appreciate that, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's get into it. Well, I'll start with first question I want to ask. I ask my first time guests all the time. Who is Cindy Moore? And just give a little bit of your background into sports as well.
Oh, okay. Winnie Moore is a daughter, a friend, a sibling, volleyball player, and I would say podcast host. Those are kind of my big roles, and I think all of the different characteristics and thoughts that you might come up with for those roles really do represent me.
Okay, I like that. I really do. I like that answer. You say, hey, I'm this, and a daughter and a sibling, and yeah, I love that volleyball player and things like that. So, where did the love of volleyball come from? And did you play any other sports? Talk about your the journey to where you are today.
Yeah, so growing up, I actually played basketball my whole life. Started when I was about 5 and played all the way up until my sophomore year of high school. Played very competitively. I was in the Nike EYBL circuit, if people are really familiar with that,
Yep.
up until from about late middle school into high school. Um, Going into my freshman year of high school, though, I started playing volleyball, which was really random. I was going to a private school, but I didn't go to the feeder kind of middle schools for that school. So my mom and my dad were like, okay, we need to do something for you to meet people before the year starts. And so I went to volleyball open gym in like June or July, really just to have gone to the school a couple of times, maybe meet some friends. And I ended up really loving it. And that was actually about nine or so years ago today. Not exactly this day, but around this time of year. Absolutely loved it. Had a great coach at that school, and a really, really great volleyball program. One of the best volleyball programs in the country, but definitely in the state of New Jersey where I grew up. Ended up, playing there and making it from JV to varsity. We won 2 state championships during that time there. And by my sophomore year, I realized that I just really loved it. I loved it more than basketball. I wanted to put all my time into that. I felt like this was the new path for me. So I decided to take that on full time. We ended up moving to California for my mom's job. We moved to San Diego, which is actually where I am right now.
Okay.
In the middle of high school. Got even luckier and more fortunate with the volleyball programs that I was able to join and be a part of during that period of time. Learned a lot, was on the bench a whole lot. Eventually made it over to Cornell. Spent 4 years there, had an extra year because of COVID, and then went and played at Syracuse, which is where I ended kind of my volleyball journey up to now, about 3 weeks ago, graduating with my master's.
Okay.
And that's the very short form of a very long and tough athletic career.
Oh, no doubt. I like it. Like you said, just perseverance. It seems like that's what the word I would use to describe your journey, because you said you were, once you got into from basketball to volleyball, on top of said, okay, I sat the bench a lot, but I just kept, you didn't give up, didn't quit. And I think that's always amazing, especially with young athletes too. Just, I've watched sports for a long time, played and watched, and just seeing some athletes, they don't start or anything like that. They want that. And I understand that you want to play, you want to definitely play, but you said you kept it going, kept it moving, and say, you know what, I'm just going to keep on going. You talk a little bit before we start recording, talk about, you said some of the ups and the downs. What are some of the ups and downs of that journey, becoming, you said, a D1 volleyball player and now turning pro, the behind the scenes of that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because if you look at my stats, if you pull up my roster from Syracuse, you look at my career, you look at my pre-career, before college, and you think, wow, this girl just came from volleyball powerhouses, and she was always, one of those girls on the team, right? The volleyball community is quite small, and all the programs that I went to were very highly ranked, or they were well known. From my high school in New Jersey, the high school I eventually came to at Cornell in California, and then my club teams. They're always top 10 or, sometimes top 3 programs in the country. And I go to say that because I think it really shows, like, within that resilience and within that mental piece, like, how much as an athlete you have to trust yourself and believe in yourself.
Yeah.
The outward area and what other people say and think, it doesn't usually actually matter. It's always about how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
So I would just say, like, starting off with volleyball, like, I was able to get on to JV and eventually varsity at my high school in New Jersey because I was extremely athletic. I could jump, basketball made me a really great defender, and they needed that. And to be quite honest, I think the initial reason that I got onto varsity was because someone got hurt. They needed another player, right? So I first started playing varsity and as a freshman, has never played not because I was this freshman who was this phenomenon and I was just able to
Yeah.
come in right away and make a big wave, because they needed someone. And, they were like, hey, stand here and jump this way. And I was able to have some success with that, a very minor success with that. But I didn't know a lot of the rules. I didn't know what strategy. I got in the way a whole lot. And that really messed with my mental and made me question, like, should I be here? Do people want me here? Right? Like, we all know, like, on the court, and you have that one teammate and you're really competitive. You're like, oh, brother, like, she's on my team today, or like she's going in, she's rotating in the most important part of the game. Like, that was me for like 4 years, like my entire high school experience. That was me. By the end of my sophomore year, I started to get into a little bit of a groove. I still wasn't really playing that often, just in like specific moments when I could, or, if my skill set was needed. But then by my junior year, I had to start over. I finally got excited. I finally got better. And then my junior year, I had to start over, because now I went from New Jersey, the best team in New Jersey, to the best team in California, which is a totally different thing. Like, San Diego is like the mecca of volleyball. Like, you can't walk down the street in San Diego without seeing at least someone like Olympian, some pro volleyball, something. So moved down to San Diego, played at Cathedral Catholic. My senior year, we were ranked #1 in the country. My club was ranked top 3. And I made it onto the team just enough to practice and wear the jersey, but I wasn't a starter. I wasn't a starter really until my senior year in high school, and never for my club team. And I got to learn. And I got to learn in a hard way. Like, I didn't always get to practice, or I didn't always warm up the full way. Sometimes it was just being there and taking up space, but I was able to learn from the girls who were the best in the country. And I got to see what is the best coaching, what were all those things that I was missing in New Jersey, or all the girls from Jersey who don't go, get recruited. What are they missing? And I kind of waited my turn. And then eventually getting to Cornell, my turn came up, and all of those lessons and the grit and all of that turned into a great career at Cornell, which turned into a great, year at Syracuse.
I love that journey. I do. I really, that's such a good journey, great journey. Just to, as you said, just learning from your coaches and other players, and you're observing everything sitting. And then when you got your opportunity, you took advantage of that and said, okay, now it's my turn. And you showed a lot of patience, and you said, and just practicing and kept learning and soaking up everything too. I think people can learn from that too, because that can, and I know you talk about this on the podcast about the mental health of it, and we'll get into that a little bit. And having those conversations, because you said you lived it, because a lot of athletes, like we said, they will okay, I'm going to transfer here now with NIL, and there's a lot of that too. We can talk about that too, but there's a lot of that as well. But you kept at it, and you kept going, and just kept showing the strength of, okay, I know I'm going to get an opportunity. I'm going to get an opportunity, and you did, and now you're turning pro. So for those that are listening, and they can learn from that, not giving up, and just, you said, persevering into still having a great career, great career, and leading into that too. So that's wonderful too. Talk about volleyball. Talk about the growth of volleyball, because you see it on beach volleyball, you see it on the Olympics, but there's the colleges, and I love volleyball too. I love watching it as well. I love playing it too when we were just playing. I used to love playing in high school.
Yeah,
played in the gym. It was fun. It's a lot of fun and competitive, and then just learning. It was just, but you play with your family reunions and things like that. But talk about the growth of it you said you played it, you're playing it at a high level. But talk about the growth of where volleyball has over the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, so I just adding to that last thing, like, one of my favorite quotes, and like, I don't know, something I hope people start to associate with me, I always say, is like, your time is coming, and it always comes on time.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So you might be mad, like, I should be there, I could be playing, that girl just made a mistake, I deserve to be out there, I would never do that. You just have to remember your time is coming, and it's going to come on time, and you just have to prepare for when it does come. Am I going to be ready? Am I going to capitalize on that moment? But speaking of like how volleyball has grown, honestly, I think that idea still fits with volleyball now. Volleyball's always been a popular women's sport, but I think right now the stat is that it's the fastest growing women's sport and like girls sport in the US right now. I don't know about the world, but I think what's great about the growth of volleyball is just honestly just the attention and the marketing and the investment that we're having in it right now. The NCAA tournament, the excitement and the media attention that we're getting around just the tournament and the Final Four and the national championship is actually now, happening throughout the entire season, even during preseason.
Yeah.
Now the Power 5 conferences, I'm so sad about this. The ACC is finally doing it this year. But we're going to have the ACC and Big Ten Challenge, and we have, the First Serve sponsored by these big companies, and so we have these huge games between, the powerhouse volleyball conferences at preseason. And so you get an idea of like what's gonna come, and you get to see the journey of these teams, way before the end of the season, when everyone all of a sudden is like, man, I should have been watching volleyball all year. Now you get it in college, like from August, right? August 3rd, August 15th, whatever. And then even during the middle of the season, we have sold out games in big arenas. Louisville, they play both in their, they have a volleyball specific gym, but they also play in the KFC Yum Center for just regular season matches. And that's happening all across the country and conferences all across the country. So that's really cool. The volleyball community is huge, but also really small. And so there's so many different club teams and high school teams who come to our games. You would think even Syracuse, New York, you said you're from Central New York, like how many volleyball clubs are out there? But we have had games where we have 100 plus club or high school girls from our area that are coming to watch us play or coming to watch different teams play. So that's really cool just on like the high school and college side. But then in the last 2 years, we just launched professional volleyball league. So we've already had one called Athletes Unlimited. That's a really short season. They do a really specific model. But now we have 2 different other professional leagues that are the traditional team model, league championship. And that just created even more opportunities. The high school girls that everyone knows from Instagram and prepvolleyball.com now go to college, and everyone follows them in college and have NIL deals. And then they get drafted, and you still get to follow them along. And a lot of them get drafted to play in the same city that they went to college in. So it just makes the sport bigger and bigger. And we have these big stars now, like you have in the WNBA and the NBA. And I think that just puts even more attention on volleyball. It gives girls the opportunity to know, like, I really could have a future in this if I wanted to. This is something that I could really, truly do. And I think that's why volleyball is growing so fast. And it's also just super fun. Like, you don't need to know anything about volleyball to have a good time watching a game. You don't need to know one rule. All you need to know is she just hit that really hard, and that girl like dropped to the ground and got that ball up.
Yes. And then, like you said, the ball just always, like you said, they hit it, they spike, all those things. And I like that because you said it has grown so much. Volleyball has grown so much, and it said it's more on. Networks are more paying attention to it and giving it opportunity. It's just like you said, the WNBA, it's the women's college basketball, whatever, the women's sports in general. I always say, and I've been doing the podcast for a long time, I always say women's sports has always been here. It's just, networks and they're investing. And it said, if you invest in it, the product's already there. The product's always been good now, but it's like I said, it's never too late. So I'm just glad that the investments of networks and media rights and all these things are giving it what it's always been there and deserved. And and volleyball is part of that too. Like you said, it's the fastest growing women's sports out there. So I mean, you gotta give it the credit where it's due, and it's definitely it's finally getting its credit now. So shout out to volleyball from the high school, from little league, high school, college, and out to the pros too. So it's I love seeing the growth, and hopefully you'll continue to keep growing. It's going to continue growing and everything too. So but let's get into the podcast a little bit that you launched. Talk About It podcast, kind of hit on a little bit of I wanted to ask you, it talks about real conversations about NIL, mental health advocacy, life after sports, things like that. Talk about the podcast, why you launched it, and why it's important to have these conversations.
Yeah, so the podcast is, and I think it's a little bit unique. If you guys have seen a similar model, let me know. All my episodes are about 15 minutes long or shorter. I keep them really short, pretty specific because I feel like that's what student athletes are looking for.
Mm,
You get so many long form interviews with people and you get to know their heart and their journey and all of that. And that is so helpful. But sometimes it can be quite difficult to point out from those interviews what
yeah.
you're really struggling with and learning, right? Um, so my goal with the podcast is these short episodes that are really specific to what student athletes are wondering what they're looking for. Almost like a Google, like if there's crash course and all these like study videos on YouTube for when
Mm.
you need to figure out your math homework and you just need to know trigonometry, 90-degree angles. I just want to know this, right?
You ought to know the answer. Just I know
Math.
under this. Yes, yes.
I'm about
Right
to
to it.
retire. I don't want to hear about your journey post sports. I need to know how you got hurt, when you decided to medically retire, and what the process is like. Right?
Right,
That's not
right.
out there. That's
Three,
not
four
out
questions. You're good. Yes,
there. Right.
yes. We need that.
So
Yeah.
that's the episode. So it's like, how do I medically retire? How do I get a job? Let's talk about it, like specific. And the reason that I came up with this idea, it actually started as just a short Instagram reel series. I never necessarily thought it would be a whole podcast, that it would be my career, that I would be doing this for that long. It started because I was working in sports advocacy, I was talking about Title IX, NIL, all these different things. And I was traveling all across the country or joining phone calls like every other day while being a student, while being an athlete in college. And I had all this knowledge. I was slowly becoming an expert in this space because everything was changing in college sports and it's still changing.
Yeah.
And I would come back to school and people would ask me questions. And I realized like, oh, you guys don't know this. I'm talking to our athletic director. I'm talking to, sports business executives, all these different people, and they're planning and making decisions about things that we have no idea about, but they affect our lives. Let's talk about those things. And I had a really unique perspective there because I knew both sides. I knew how student athletes wanted the information. I knew what things that they didn't know. And I also knew the answers to a lot of them or knew people who did. And so that's kind of where the show Let's Talk About It merges. And so that's why we talk about mental health and all those different quitting your sport and burnout, but also talk about this is what the House versus NCAA case is. This is how you negotiate a contract for revenue share and all those different topics. So that's kind of the ethos of the show.
I like it, and I've listened to ever since I started following you. I've been listening to, and I love that. Like you said, it's the 15, 20 minutes of you learn something from it, and it's educational. And you learn from the inside of the mind of an athlete, a coach, former athlete, whatever it is, what they've gone through. Like you said, the ups and downs, the mental health, education about NIL. As you said, you want a short version of, okay, what is NIL? What is this? Like you said, the whatever topic you talk about, I like that. So I think you learn something. It's informational too. So I really enjoy that. I always listen to a lot of different podcasts and conversations, and your podcast came up and I'm like, oh, I like this because it's 15, 20 minutes. And you said you just get a crash course of, if you just want, listen to something for 15 minutes, you can listen to a couple episodes real quickly, but you didn't really learn something. And I'm sure that was one of the goals to give someone, like I said, a crash course of whatever topic that you're discussing or news that you're discussing at the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. People can watch it on, listen to it on Spotify and Apple and and everywhere too. So so subscribe and like everyone that's listening. Subscribe, like, and comment and share. I would say that too. So it's a really good podcast as well. All right, got a couple more since I'm going to try to keep this. Like you said, you do 15, 20 minutes, but
you don't have
to. But I do have a couple more, and then I'll let you go. But you just came back from AthleteCon, and talk about your experience about that, and what that was. And I've had a couple of people on here from last year that attended AthleteCon, but talk about your experience there and what it is.
Yeah, so AthleteCon was something I just wasn't going to miss for so many reasons. Sam Green, who owns AthleteCon, operates it, does everything, is a good friend of mine, a mentor of mine. I met her in the Meta NIL program about 2 years ago. And she was one of the people who really pushed me to make Let's Talk About It as an Instagram reel and gave me some
Okay.
ideas for how to get that started. Use CapCut to edit, like all these different, little things that made the show eventually what it has become. And so, I've always, when I can, take time to be able to learn from her or support her or do different things. And she always makes sure that there's space for me there, which I think is great, right? She's not just inviting you. She's making sure that the athletes have, whether it's by her or sponsors another way to fly there, to have a hotel there, to get there. She does a lot of the heavy lifting so we don't have to. I think that's amazing. I'm really thankful for it. But yeah, for me, for those who don't know, like AthleteCon is like the NIL conference for student athletes at the time.
Mhm.
Sam brings in a bunch of different student athletes of all different followings and experience with NIL, as well as a ton of different brands, from really established companies like Meta to brand new companies looking to, affect the NIL space. And we learn. And I think the best part is really the networking. You learn a lot just by that lateral networking. We're all on the same page, even if we might have different followings or parts of our journey. We're all trying to make friends. Most of us, like, despite what people think, are the only or few, one of few athletes at our school actively doing NIL or trying to turn it into a business and a long-term career for themselves. So that's been great. And just over the years, being able to go to those events, I've made friends who I kind of call my coworkers, because I work by
Yeah.
I own my business. I work for myself, and I call them my coworkers because now we call each other up. We're like, hey, did you get this deal? And what are they offering? And did you read this article? And Sydney, I think you should connect with this person. And so, it's so great to be able to see my coworkers in person and make new ones.
I love that. Yes, and I love what you said. What Sam Green is doing for athletes, and you said it's like it's a content convention for athletes. That's what the Instagram page says, and
Yeah.
it's networking, and I think it's huge. It's a big thing, and I know this was the second one that she put together, and she's already been talking about the third one, AthleteCon 3.0 for next June in 2026. So. Yeah, so anyone that gets an opportunity to go, she, like I said, she sends out the invites to athletes and things like that. It seems like a fun time, but a lot of networking and just getting together, almost like a family reunion
Yeah.
in a way of, you said, your coworkers, and just you get to see each other in person and just networking and having a good time, and talking about what athletes go through and storytelling and things like that, which I like that that she's big on advocacy for NIL and athletes, and making sure they have a platform to share their stories and network. So she's definitely doing big things with that. All right, just my last. I got two more, and then I'll let you go.
We're not in a rush. That's okay.
No, not at all. Not at all. Nope. I always just try to keep it. I try to keep mine at least 30 to 40 minutes too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
no rush at all. I mean, yeah, I could talk to you forever if I could, but for time's sake, I'll let so we won't talk for 2-3 hours. But I can seem like it's a great conversation that we're having. But I wanted to ask you about SP award winner and Glamour College Women of the Year. Talk about that. Congratulations on both of those accomplishments. Talk about those accomplishments and what that meant to you.
Yeah. So those, I won an SB the end of my sophomore year. And then the Glamour thing was like the beginning of my senior year of college. So, a little bit ago, but not that long ago.
Right.
The SB, both of those are really long-term, kind of things that, again, like, you never can imagine like what you're doing right now is going to turn into something huge
Something like that. Yeah.
I wouldn't say I had the foresight then when I was starting. So going into my freshman year of college was that summer of COVID, had a lot of free time, and also knew that we wouldn't have a competitive season that year at Cornell because the Ivy League canceled the fall 2020 season. So kind of just home at COVID, and America was talking about a lot. There was the Black Lives Matter movement was kind of in full force.
Yeah, a lot.
And there's a lot going on. And one of my friends, a girl that I had gone to high school with in New Jersey, she was older than me. I always viewed her as such a role model, just so cool. She played college sports as well. Posted a article with like this branding of Voice in Sport about her experience as a Black woman in sports, and just kind of this mindset that people really didn't take her seriously, and like the effort that she put in and all these different things. And I loved it. And I was like, I cannot believe that you posted this. Our school is like 99% white. Like, I can't believe you posted this to everyone we know. No one has ever said something like this publicly before. Like, we've said it in private and we talked about it. We never said it publicly. It's like, this is so cool. And she's like, you can post one. Like, let me get you in contact with the person. And so I wrote one as well. And from there, they were like, we loved what you wrote. We loved the work that you put into this. Like, would you like to join our team? And that basically was the founding team of Voice in Sport, which is a virtual platform for girls and women in sport who need mentorship or guidance in the community. That turned to an online platform, eventually turned into a foundation. And I became the advocacy director for that foundation.
Okay.
All of that work turned into Title IX legislation and advocacy work. My role as a director expanded from just what we were doing, but to, you know, hundreds of girls across the country trying to start chapters at their school where they could educate other women athletes about Title IX and gender equity, and also kind of influence the compliance at their school, while we were, at the same time, we were trying to get a bill into Congress to change the Title IX rules to make it easier and make it, you know, to ensure the fact that schools would be compliant with Title IX of our bill, to make it very specific of these are the things that would make your school compliant. But then at the same time, we knew that would take years. It's been almost 4 years. It still hasn't been passed. So at the same time, we were working on the smaller level, at a grassroots level, to change it just individually and educate people. So that's where the SB kind of came from.
Okay. Yeah.
The humanitarian awards, the Billie Jean King Youth Leadership Award, which is in large part put on also by the Can You Think Beyond, or the Think Beyond group. And they've been just such an amazing help to me. Shout out RB, who kind of runs the program for us. And of course, Billie Jean King. So those became people that were in my corner. And so then from there, just being able to continue the work with Voice in Sport and everyone that was there, but then also with their help and their connections, we just continued to do the work, continue to build more programs, continue to do more events. And then that's where the Glamour Award came from. It's like this woman athlete. At that point, I was captain of my team at Cornell. I was leading the Ivy League in blocks. I had a great hitting percentage. Like, I was really doing well on both sides of the court. And I always think that's important to say, because I think a lot of people don't expect that an athlete that is doing really well on the court is also doing really good things off the court. A lot of the time, you see someone with a lot of followers, or someone who spends a lot of time away from school, and you assume that they're not taking care of business, or that they're doing this to distract themselves from the fact that they're on the bench. That wasn't quite my case. I'm really proud that I was able to handle both, although there's nothing wrong with the other way around.
Yeah.
And that's where Glamour magazine came from. And what they mean to me is like, it's like awesome. It's like being recognized for what you're doing on the court or in sports beyond what you are directly doing, right? Not, oh, she won this award just because she got this many kills, but like everything that I was doing and being recognized for that. The opportunities that came from that, like winning those awards changed my life. Like the way that I'm able to email different people or talk to different people, get resources for the things that I'm working on. Like that's amazing, especially at such a young age. So I would say those things. And just, I was also just cool. Like I was just able to meet I was like, I'm backstage with the ESPYs, like, like, hey, Travis Kelce's over there. Like I got to meet Skylar Diggins, who I watched like every weekend, like growing up, to see her play basketball. Like it was just like a cool experience overall. And just always like a really cool thing to look back on.
I mean, congratulations first and foremost on all that, and well deserved. And it just, like you said, just shows how much, people are watching and people are paying attention to what you're doing. Like you said, not just the things they said the things you do on the court is very important in that what you do, but you said just the off the court stuff too, all the things you said, the networking and the things you're putting out there. And then you said it, and I love seeing it, because as you're Black woman that's doing excellent stuff, excellent things, just seeing that and pushing forward, because we know how hard it can get, how hard it can be, but it doesn't let you just continue to keep pushing forward and continue to, and being recognized for the work that you're doing. So that to me is a win-win in all things. So congratulations on that too as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, the last one is like I said, I enjoyed this the story of, like I said, just getting that, and they said, and it's fun too, the backstory of things too. We got a question in the chat. What was it like? This was from Nathan Ramasandra from Nathan Sports Rush. Thank you for always tuning in. He said, what was it like being a part of Syracuse sports history as well? And like I said, I'm born and raised in upstate New York. Elmira, New York is my hometown, and a couple hours away from Syracuse, small city, from Syracuse, and Cornell's an hour away. But I don't miss those cold days, those cold weather. I'm in Philly now for the last 12 years, 13 years now. So, but it's cold here too, but not as like, upstate New York weather is a little different. But that'll be the last question. What was it like to be part of Syracuse sports history?
That's a great question. So it's so funny. I was talking to Syracuse in the beginning of my college process, like back during my sophomore year. It was like a school that I had reached out to. Some coaches that I had was working with had gone there and was able to help me get a call, and it didn't end up working out. It just wasn't the right time. But assistant coach that was there at that time ended up leaving and going to Cornell like the very next year, and kind of put me high up on the list for Cornell. Like, hey, you got to talk to this girl. And I ended up going to Cornell, and I spent 4 years at Cornell. And then my senior year, we ended up playing Syracuse as a preseason match. And I was like, oh, like, they're close by. I remember playing Syracuse. I remember doing all this research on like the Newhouse School and their business. They had a really big sports history and all this stuff. And growing up, I used to love the Ernie Davis movie. Like, I made my dad watch that all the time.
I went to school at Ernie Davis. I went to junior high school at Ernie Davis.
Oh, good. So we played Syracuse. I was like, maybe I'll add that to my list. I knew that I wanted to go Power 5 or Power 4 now for my fourth year.
Yeah.
Or my fifth year. So we had played that, and I kind of put it in my head again, like, hey, I've got a podcast now. Like, I have a sports, like I work in sports. Like, I love Central New York, because I know it's like you live in San Diego. Why would you I love Central New York. I love being up there. Like, Syracuse could be a good point. And I kind of went down my list, and I was like, okay, like all of those things I just mentioned, big sports, like Cornell was super fun. We don't have a packed stadium. We don't have a dome, and Syracuse was there, and it fit all of the boxes and the vibe and everything I wanted. And so that's kind of why I went there. Like, I chose it for that sports history and for everything that it had. That's going to continue. The program, also the volleyball program, is kind of going through a restructuring because we got a new coach just about 2 years ago. So this was like, our coach is only like his third true year coaching everyone. This is his first year with having people 100% that he recruited. So also just being able to be part of a program, a volleyball program that's developing and that's really investing in the volleyball program was like, it's unmatched, right? Yeah. The rest of my life, no matter, like, we're only just going to keep getting better. And I just get to keep coming back and being like, oh, I played for this program. I was on one of the first teams under this like program. It's awesome, so it's awesome. It's huge. And they've just welcomed me so much in all different parts of the university in just 1 year as an athlete, but also, working with professors at Falk, working with professors at Newhouse, working with professors at Whitman. It's like, I bleed red, but like I bleed orange now too. So now it's like this like warm, it's just, maybe it's pink.
Yeah, right. You blend it together. So you bleed red and orange, so you blend it together. Yeah. Syracuse and their rich history, as you said. And I've been to quite a few basketball games of growing up near there and everything too. Is just it's a great program. You said great broadcasting, everything. They Syracuse, they have something. They got something for everybody there too. And I know quite a few people that went to Syracuse and that lived in Syracuse and all that too. So as I said, it's a great city, and just sports city in general, college, university as well. So Sydney, this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. And thank you for your time, and again, congratulations on all your accomplishments and everything else you got coming up as well. And said turning pro that's huge news, and I really appreciate you sharing that as well, and just sharing your journey and your story. So thank you again for that time, and let everyone know they can follow you on your journey, social media, want to reach out to you, the podcast, and everything too. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, if you want to follow my journey or just reach out if you have any questions, you can follow me on Instagram and DM me. It's at Sydney.Moore, 2 S's and 2 M's. And then the podcast, Let's Talk About It, can be found on all platforms if you search LTBI Pod. You can find that on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. You'll find it under LTBI Pod, even the website, ltbipod.com. And yeah, just, DM me. I'm open. I'm always happy to help and answer questions and just keep the conversation going.
Yes, and like I said, all great conversations on the podcast, and we got to do this again. I think
Yes.
I really appreciated it, and we'll definitely talk more, and I'll definitely hit you up, and I'm glad we connected and networked, and we made it happen. So I really appreciate the time, and best of luck and many blessings on all the things you got going on as well. So thank you again.
You as well. Thank you.
All right. Well, you enjoy, and talk to you soon, and enjoy the rest of the week.
All right. You too.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Are we all done? Oh, wait. Am I actually leaving? Sorry.
We're good.
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right. Have a good one.